Hey guys, Brian Hilliard here, author of the best-selling book, Networking Like a Pro, and today we are going to tackle a question that gets asked of me a lot. You know, as a coach, as a consultant, as a service professional, people want to know how much should I charge for my service, you know? And this is usually for people who maybe you are just starting out, okay? You're in a service professional, you're just starting out, you're trying to figure out what it is you're gonna do. Maybe you do writing, or you're a resume writer, or a career coach, or somebody like that. What's the right price to charge? Maybe you've been doing this for a while, and you're like, you know what, Brian, I just want to be able to kind of squeeze a little bit more revenue out of it. I feel like I'm underpriced, and for whatever reason, you know, I want to be able to get back to a little bit more of my fair market value. So what we're going to talk about today is how much should I charge as it relates to my services. All right, now there's actually two schools of thought on this. All right, the first one, it is called value-based pricing. All right, value-based pricing. Now this is something that first came to my attention with Alan Weiss in The Millionaire Consultant, which, by the way, if you haven't had a chance to take a look at that book and you're obviously a coach or a consultant, I would highly recommend it. But value-based pricing is the concept that says, all right, let me take a look at how much, or excuse me, what my service is going to be worth to the end user. So as an example, I do, as you guys know, a lot of marketing and things like that as a coach and a consultant. And let's say somebody wanted to hire me to come in and speak to their sales team, you know, or to show them how to market better. And, you know, I'm going to speak for a team of maybe 20 people, do some small groups, maybe do some workshops, and yada, yada, yada. Well, how much is something like that worth to the company? Okay, is it $1 million? Is it, you know, $500,000? If they take what it is that I say, how much is that worth? Well, let's say it's worth $100,000, just to throw out numbers, okay? And, you know, if they take everything I say, they could see a return on investment that following year of $100,000. Well, according to the value-based pricing approach, what you would charge would be $100,000. Right? It's worth $100,000 for the first year. If you were able to do all the things that you said and buy it for the $100,000, you would still be up going into the second year. Okay? Now, why would you not charge $100,000? Well, you might charge something else. Well, because of course not everyone's going to do it, right? Maybe, who knows, not everything that you said is 100% right. It's a lot right, but maybe it doesn't work for that specific situation. Or maybe the environment changes, right? Just the economy or the environment changes, which makes what you said not as relevant. All right? So value-based pricing says start with, in this case, $100,000. What it's worth in a perfect world, okay, take a little bit off of that, and then charge them something close. All right, so in this case, you might go with $75,000. All right, and I love the value-based pricing approach because it helps you get into what is this worth to you, what is the ROI, and how can I help you achieve that goal? All right, that's door number one in terms of the school of thought. Now, the only problem I have with this is if you are working, this is great for corporations, this is great for organizations, but if you're working like myself, if you're working with entrepreneurs or people who are more, you know, they don't have, it might be worth $100,000. I mean, I might be able to show you how to, I'm just making this up, you know, monetize a free speaking engagement or monetize speaking engagements or get more, whatever, and that actually technically might be worth that amount, but most entrepreneurs, at least the ones I talk to, don't have $100,000 to give, even though it might be worth, you know, value-wise, $100,000. So I came into this second school of thought, which is real easy, and you'll see sorry for the writing there, but that's reasonability. Okay, as in my pricing strategy in terms of doing that, in terms of how much do I charge a reasonable amount. Now, what does that mean exactly? I am not the cheapest guy in town, okay? But I also will tell you, to work with me, I'm not the highest guy in town either. Okay? And the reason I wanted to do that was, this is just a business decision for me as a coach, consultant, whatever. Might be different for you. I wanted to be able to work with a group of people. I didn't want to work with too many, but I didn't want to work with not enough, obviously. Okay? So what I did was I came up with a pricing structure that was set up for when people, and I know it's working because you know what people say? Oh boy, that's pretty reasonable. Yeah, okay. And you see them, they're nodding their head. They're like, yeah, you know, I can see doing that. All right, how does this work? Okay, so for me, my pricing structure is that whole reasonability. You say, Brian, what exactly is that? Well, if I were to, let's say, maybe it's worth $5,000, and maybe I think I could get $4,000 from it, I might charge $3,000. Okay, and you're like, okay, and then I might even break that down into some installments. I've done that before for people, okay, where if you want to work with me, you know, one-on-one or this and that, I break it down to some different installments. I take a credit card, I have my people run the credit card so I'm not chasing checks, because that's a big thing as well, okay, but I will make it reasonable. I was talking to a client of mine the other day about this exact same point. As a marketing and monetization person, right, sales person, if you had $10,000, $60,000, $75,000, $100,000 to give me as an entrepreneur, if you had that, you know what? You wouldn't need me. Okay, you just wouldn't need me. So take a look, if you're, you know, out there as a service professional, take a look at your industry. Take a look at not only what they're charging, obviously, but don't get enamored with that. Take a look, more importantly, at who your target and niche markets are. What is their situation? Okay, so if you're, like I said before, if you're a writer and you're working with job seekers, it might be worth $100,000. Okay, to get them a new job with their resume, but they probably are not going to spend that with you. Conversely, if you're a sales trainer or somebody like that who goes and speaks at corporations and it's worth $100,000, okay, you might be able to come in at the 75 mark like they talk about with the value-based pricing. All right, so there's two different schools of thought when it comes to how much should you charge, and hopefully that's something that makes sense for you. But in the meantime, my name is Brian Hilliard, saying so long, take care, and thank you for your time.